What's going on, everybody? This is Jim with Straight Blast Pythons, and today we're going to talk about some blades. Before we get into this one, I kind of want to just set the tone a little bit here. This is not going to be a full morph breakdown video. We're not going to discuss, a full breakdown of characteristics, combos, stuff like that. There's plenty of videos out there on all different kinds of morphs covering that. What I want to do today is more of kind of a state of the gene, state of the morph within the industry, kind of get a conversation going about, why it is or is not popular, what it's being used in, what it can be used for. So joining us here, at least for the next few minutes until she decides she's tired of being manhandled, or until she decides to choke me out, this is Talia. She is a single gene blade. She is het for clown. As of right now, early January 2023, there's 48,890 ball pythons on Morph Market. Of that number, only 528 of those contain blade or are super blades. That number doesn't sound too bad for a less common morph until you realize that blade was founded within the Clown Project, and it really never left that. Of that 528 blade ball pythons, only 96 of those are not visual clowns or het clowns. So a very, very small number of people are even working the blade outside of the Clown Project. And to be honest, I don't understand why. The gene is very, very similar to enchi. It brings out the orange in the sides, it reduces the pattern, so I guess you can you can maybe look at it, enchi was out first. Enchi's already in a lot of stuff well before blade was ever been founded, so it kind of makes sense. Does something similar, why change what we're already doing? With that said, there's a number of things that the blade does significantly better than enchi, which is why I don't understand how the gene hasn't taken off yet. Well, the overall things that they do are similar. Enchis tend to have a bit dirtier of a pattern than a blade. Blades tend to be very clean. You can even see that on Talia here. She is approximately 2,000 grams. She really doesn't have a lot of browning outside of that normal copper tone color. A little bit of blushing, but her blacks are still very, very true black. I don't, sadly, have a single gene enchi that I can pull up right next to her for comparison. I do have one, however, what are you doing, Talia? I do have one. It is sitting in my quarantine rack. It is also het clown, so it eliminates any possibility of arguing the het difference. But for biosecurity purposes, I am not going to put them side by side. The enchis that I've typically seen tend to not necessarily brown out, but fade. Their oranges become more of a tan. The blacks that you would see here on the dorsal kind of become more of a chocolate in color. So they do fade out a little bit more, and they tend to have a bit more of a muddy look to them, especially in combos. I've noticed they tend to have a little bit of a dirty pattern. The blade doesn't have that. It's very, very clean. On top of that, it maintains this contrast very well as it ages. Again, she's going on 3 years old, right around 2,000 grams. I mean, this is what they look like as an adult. They maintain their color and contrast amazingly, and that's something that not all enchis can say. Yes, I am aware that because there are more enchis, obviously it's been outcropped more, there's more bad examples, but still, as a generalization, even with the good examples, the blade is just a cleaner animal in my opinion. Both genes have super forms, both are extra reduced. The blade, once again, in my opinion, has better contrast as an adult in its super form. I don't really think one is better than the other, it's just what you want for the project, but with cleanliness and contrast being where the industry is going, you can see that dominantly with how common Desert Ghost and Lace are becoming right now. So why would the less contrasted or less clean gene win out? I'm in no way trying to write a love letter to Blade right now or to say that there's anything wrong with enchi. This is just my pure curiosity and thought process on why one is popular and one is virtually unheard of in the industry. Like stated earlier, the Blade originated within the Clown Project, so most of what you're going to see is obviously clowns. In Clown, Blade is a reducer, brightens up the colors a little bit, strips away pattern from the side, brings everything up to that dorsal stripe, just like enchi. The big difference there, and again we're going to continue that enchi comparison, is the blade typically has a solid, complete dorsal stripe, whereas the signature enchi clown has that broken dorsal. Again, the super form takes it both to the extreme. It narrows that dorsal stripe even more in the blade, breaks it up even more in the enchi. The blade maintains that dark color contrast in the clown, where the enchi kind of browns or reds out in the pattern. Different uses, but I think if you're going for that reduced clown look, once again, the blade is superior. I don't know why when you look at blades, well, I take that back. I do understand that with the push towards more busy clown right now, why blades really aren't that sought after in clown, but for some odd reason, enchi still is. I I don't understand it. Not really touching on pied too much. Recently, I've seen a number of blade pieds pop up, and from what I can see, again, very similar to enchi. I'm not going to go so far as to say that it always creates the low white pieds. All the ones that I've seen have been low white. That could just be coincidental, but talking about the actual pattern, what it does to the saddles themselves, again, very similar to enchi. Slightly brighter colors, more bold blacks, a little bit of a wonky pattern to it. Don't see why one is better than the other. All right, so now let's hit axanthic, which is where personally I think blade would shine over enchi. And I know enchi's already known to be good in axanthic. The oranges work really well with the axanthic, and again, the reduced pattern looks good. With the blade having, again, in my opinion, a bit better contrast and that cleaner appearance, in theory, it shouldn't brown out as much. It should keep that unspeckled look. It should also offer that more true white or silver to the snake compared to, say, again, the enchi. The two spots that I will say that the blade gene does lose out is, of course, enchi is allelic in the 8-ball complex, so you can have a snake that never produces a normal from a breeding standpoint, and you have some different combo options, like looking at the campfire stuff, for example, where you really can't do that with the blade. But at the same time, I personally think the blade's super form is just a hair better. Like I said at the beginning of this, my goal is not a love letter to the blade. My goal is not to do a full morph breakdown on the blade. It's to try to strike up a conversation. So, what is it about blade that you think has held it back? Is it just too common to enchi and enchi came out first? Is it just, the fact that it was linked to clown like leopard was with pied and it just hasn't taken off for whatever reason? Did you even know blade was a gene? I'm going to be honest with you. The reason I'm even picking blade to start this with is the other day I saw an ad for a blade clown, and the person posting it, they kind of went on a rant in their ad about how blade was a bloodline and not actually a separate morph. Blade's been around for a while, so that kind of confused me. I'm newer to the industry and I'm very familiar with it. Obviously, I have a single gene blade in my collection, so let me know. What do you think? Comment below. Feel free to message me directly, either here or on Instagram. Let's talk about it. What do you think about Blade? Why hasn't it taken off? And more importantly, what are you doing with Blade, if anything? I'm truly, truly curious to see what people are doing with this. All that said, I'll go ahead and stop ranting about the Blade now. If you stayed with me this long, thank you. I truly, truly appreciate your support. I've said it before. I'm new to this. I'm still trying to improve. Anything you see I could do to make these videos better, lighting, audio, just my ugly face, let me know. If I can improve, I will. Other than that, I'll see you next time.